Hi everyone, for today's video I am going to be talking about the new e.l.f. x Chipotle collection. If you didn't know this about me, Chipotle was actually my first job, and I figured I would do this little get ready with me, use some of the Chipotle collection products, and then talk about my first job experience, because I was there at Chipotle working for 5 years. Like, I started working there when I was 16 and I stopped working there when I was 21, and basically immediately after that started working at Ulta. And I was actually working at Chipotle for like a couple of weeks into me working at Ulta, but that just didn't end up working out because Ulta then wanted to promote me to manager. And I was like, okay, I have to cut ties with Chipotle, like it has to be over. But yeah, I got the full collection. So I picked up the eyeshadow palette, which just looks like this. I find looking at the eyeshadow palette to be kind of bittersweet because I just remember working at Chipotle and talking to like my coworkers and my friends about how one day I was going to come out with a Chipotle collection, because I would just like look at the line, like the line of food, and just think like, oh, black beans would be such a good eyeshadow color, and like pinto beans would be such a good eyeshadow color. I was thinking like the fajitas was going to be like this really amazing like green purple sparkly duochrome. I was just having lots of fun dreaming up that fake collection, and then e.l.f. decided to do it before me, which makes sense. They're an established brand. So, but anyway, I do have the hot sauce lip gloss, which is actually really cute. Then I do have the little avocado beauty sponge, which is adorable. And then I think that was all of the collection, plus I got the bag, the little It's Okay to Be a Little Extra e.l.f. x Chipotle. I had to pick up the whole collection. It's very rare that I feel like I have to pick up a whole collection or that I really want to pick up a whole collection, but since Chipotle will always hold a very special place in my heart, I figured I had to. So yeah, and then also I stopped into Ulta yesterday just to get my brows done. I am 1 week vaccinated. I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine last Saturday, so my mom and I decided to go get our brows done. But when I stopped into Ulta, I did pick up a darker shade of the e.l.f. Camo CC cream. I was using the medium 330W, but I picked up the medium 375N. I figured maybe I could mix them together and get a better shade match. The 330W is very, very yellow and a little bit light, so I think that mixing them together will give me my, you know, perfect shade, hopefully. And then other than that, I'm just gonna keep the look drugstore, and yeah, let's just get into it. So I'm going to start with the e.l.f. Dew Primer. I haven't used this primer in a really long time, but I figured I would bring it out for the video. So just for reference, that is 330, and then right next to it is 375. I just wanted to show you guys before I mix them together, but I do think that once I mix it together, the shade will be really good. Yeah, that looks like a great shade. The shade range for this foundation I found to be really, really weird. Hopefully they come out with more shades in the future, because I really like this foundation and I know a lot of other people did. I don't usually use a sponge with this foundation, but I know that a lot of people do like a sponge. I just feel like it dries way too fast, but I'm gonna try it again because I do have the little avocado sponge. But yeah, I started working at Chipotle when I was 16. It was my very first job, and I actually wasn't driving at that point. I got my car, I think it was one of the summer months. July, I think, is when I got my car. Ooh, I actually really like that shade match a lot. I am switching over to a brush though, because the sponge just takes way too long. But yeah, I think it was April of 2013 that I started working at Chipotle, and I also want to say I was the youngest person that that store had ever hired, and I really, really liked working there. It was super stressful initially. I remember my first shift was like, I just was so hot and everything was moving so fast, and there was just, it was a Saturday, so it was so busy. But truly, like, after I got into the groove of things and I got more comfortable, like, again, it was my first job, so that in and of itself is like a little bit stressful. just like trying to figure out how to navigate like employment. But the manager that hired me was awesome, and unfortunately, like working in a fast food restaurant, there's gonna be tons of turnover. So I ended up like working with a few different managers after he had left. Just applying a little bit of the e.l.f. Camo Concealer, and I'm using the shade Medium Beige. It's been a really long time since I've used this concealer. But yeah, that particular manager that hired me was my favorite manager of like my whole, or my favorite GM, like the general manager. But yeah, he was my favorite of the whole time that I was working there. And then I worked with other like great GMs after him, but yeah, he was just the best. I'm gonna do my bronzer right now. I'm just adding a little bit of my Physicians Formula Sculpting Bronzer. So while I was in high school, I really only worked 3 days a week. Like I was definitely very part-time, and sometimes I would pick up shifts here and there. I would usually work like 4 to 8 or sometimes like 5 to 9 working on the line. And then I would have one weekend shift, which would usually be on Saturdays. I would work like a weekend shift. And it wasn't until like my senior year of high school where I would maybe sometimes work like a little bit later. But while I was in high school, I definitely worked like more limited hours and stuff, which made sense because I was young, you know, still had other things to do. But the cool thing about working at Chipotle and having that be my first job was I was also making a lot more than like my friends working at other fast food jobs, because Chipotle does pay their employees like decently well, at least to start. And like when you're in high school, it feels like, you know, pretty good money. I'm just doing my brows really quick with the NYX Lift and Snatch brow pen. I don't know if this product is dried out, but I am gonna try and go in with the e.l.f. Putty Eye Primer. But when I got a little bit older, I worked more shifts, and more so during the day. I preferred to work daytime shifts, but I didn't mind closing either. But my favorite shifts to work were prep shifts, and I remember when one of my really good friends, Chris, I met him at Chipotle. When he was working there, we would like beg the manager to put us on schedule together working prep shifts, and that was like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and we would just be in the back prepping food all day, and it was the best. It was a blast. And then after we would get done prepping the food, we would go do dishes together, and like that was also very fun. I enjoyed doing dishes at Chipotle kind of a lot. It was just like a really nice way to just like let go of whatever you're doing and thinking about and just like focus on getting the dishes done. And it was just fun. I really enjoyed that. I'm finally going to dip into the Chipotle palette. I'm gonna start with the Pinto Beans shade right here, which is just like a light brown. Seems like a good transition shade. But through Chipotle, I met like a lot of really great people. I loved meeting people through my job and just meeting people that I typically wouldn't have met in my life, which was cool because I worked with a lot of people from different age groups and life stages and stuff. So that was really cool. Definitely a different working experience from Ulta. And you know, of course, it's like food and then retail, which is different. But working at Ulta, I definitely was surrounded more by like my peers and also other women. So that was definitely a little bit different from Chipotle, where like the team was usually like very diverse and had like men, women, different ages, all that kind of stuff. I'm now going to go in with the lettuce shade. I'm really liking the fajita shade and also the sofrita shade I'm really liking too. But I do want to try and incorporate some of the other colors in this palette, because you could totally easily do like a very natural, nice look with this palette, but I want to try and get some more color on my eyes. So I'm just taking lettuce right now and I'm applying it kind of on the outer corner to add some green in there. Just building up the intensity of the shade. This actually looks really, really nice. So one of the coolest things about working at Chipotle, and for working there as long as I did, was I was able to get tuition reimbursement, and that was super awesome and very, very helpful throughout college. So if you work, I don't know if it still is like this now, but at the time, if you had worked there for a year, you were eligible for tuition reimbursement. So I was able to get tuition reimbursement for most of my college semesters. However, I did not get it for my senior year because I was not working there. But one of the rules to the tuition reimbursement was that I also had to be working there like consistently. even if it was like, you know, one shift every other week, I just couldn't take off longer than a month or like 4 weeks. I'm just going in with more pinto beans so that I can re-add that transition. I really like how those colors were blending. I'm definitely gonna add a little bit more like intensity, but that's a good start. But my sophomore year of college, I studied abroad for 5 weeks. So I was like, oh shoot, like I really want to continue getting my tuition reimbursement. And my manager ended up, I think, like being able to just clock me in for like a second or something. So I was able to cheat the system a little bit and continue getting my tuition reimbursement, which I was so thankful for. I mean, like at that point I had been working at Chipotle for years. I was a honestly very good employee, very reliable, punctual. I had great work ethic. So at that point I felt like I kind of deserved it. Yeah, I love this. These colors are looking awesome. So I don't usually do cut creases like ever. I'm going to add a little bit of concealer right on the inner corner because I want this fajita shade to really pop. All right, so I'm going in with fajitas right now. Definitely looks like a little bit of a duochrome. And I'm gonna press fajitas right in that inner corner. I like that. That's really cute. Ooh. So I'm going to take a little bit of guac, that shade right here, and I kind of think it would be nice to put on the center. Ooh, I really like this look. I really like it. I'm taking a little bit more fajitas and just making sure that shade is really nice and intense and pops. Going back in with pinto beans and making sure that the crease is nice and cleaned up. I'm taking a little bit of my Undone Under Over powder and just brushing away my under eyes. I just want to make sure that I don't have any like fallout. Oh, another cool thing about my time at Chipotle was that Chipotle gave you a like referral reward if you referred anyone to come work for Chipotle, and I think I got a couple of those during my 5 years working there, but I actually ended up working with Justin, who is my boyfriend. I worked with him for a few months because I referred him, and we weren't dating at the time. We were like kind of seeing each other, but we spent a lot of years before we officially started dating. We spent a lot of years kind of doing like an on and off again thing, and at that time were we on? I think we were sometimes on during that time. I think we were a little bit. But that was fun. I really liked working with Justin. He did not stay for too long because he ended up getting a different job working at like a real restaurant cooking, so he would have enjoyed that a bit more. But Justin was actually the only person that I ever had a like relationship with that worked at Chipotle with me. I never dated any of my coworkers or was like interested in dating any of my coworkers. I definitely kept my work and like home life separate. And also my friend Chris was like the only friend that I had from Chipotle that I continued being friends with. I was friends with a few other people, but mainly while we were working, and like once in a while we would hang out of work. But really I definitely like kept my work life and my home life very separate. I cannot believe how cute my eye look is right now. I'm really liking it. I don't think I'm going to add any liner to it, even though I do think it would like really up the look. So these shades right here are white rice and brown rice. I'm going to start by taking a mixture of both of these for my inner corner highlight, but if I feel like I need it to be a little bit brighter, I'm just gonna go in with white rice. So I'm just gonna kind of do both of them and then we'll see. But I do feel this would be a really nice inner corner highlight. For my lower lash line, I'm going to take some pinto beans and I'm putting that along my lash line. One thing I also loved about working at Chipotle was the relationships that I created with the customers. It definitely is different from retail. You know, retail you can definitely get some regulars, but with food you definitely have regular customers because like people like the routine of like getting, you know, Chipotle once a week or getting, you know, picking up orders at Chipotle every once in a while, and then you just like remember people's orders and build relationships with them. And I really liked that about working at Chipotle. That was like one of the saddest things about leaving, is that like last 2 weeks I was working there, I was telling my regulars that I was not going to be there anymore, and people were like congratulating me on moving on. I'm also taking a little bit of the white rice brown rice shade and I'm placing a little bit on the brow bone. It's really hard to do brow bone highlight when my brows are not done, but my brows are done, so that's really nice. I'm gonna go over it a little bit actually with my concealer brush because I do think that was kind of intense. I'm gonna do a little bit of my NYX brow glue, but not too much, don't really need it. To add a little bit more color in my face, I'm going to add a bit of my NYX bronzer in the shade medium. Really liked this shade. I have 3 different shades of the e.l.f. putty. I'm kind of leaning towards these 2 shades. I think I'm gonna go with Bali. I think that one's really pretty. And I'm going to take the e.l.f. putty brush to apply it. I love this formula and this brush. Even though I was working at Chipotle for so long, and you can become a manager at Chipotle once you turn 18 if you wanted to, I never was really interested in a management position. I just kept telling people I did not want the responsibility, considering I was also in school and I just really didn't want the responsibility of being a manager. But the reason why I became a manager so fast when I started working at Ulta, I started working at Ulta in like August, at the end of August, I think it was 2018, and then that October, so just like a few months later, I became manager, like a manager at Ulta, and the reason for that was just because the previous manager had like just gotten up and left, and they really liked me at Ulta, and I was like, yes, I'll be a manager. And that actually ended up working perfectly because I had to take a gap year from school that semester because I didn't pay attention to some important emails and I missed out on some deadlines. So yeah, I had to take the semester off. But yeah, it was great because I finished up my time at Chipotle, which was very bittersweet. Started working at Ulta, which I fell in love with, and then I became a manager shortly after that. I feel like I need a little bit of highlight, so I'm just taking a little bit of my NYX highlight, my High Glass NYX highlight. So I'm just taking a little bit and pressing that into my skin. But then when I went back to finish up my senior year, I stepped down from management at Ulta. And then I was just a regular employee, and then I graduated, and that was all good. And then COVID happened, so yeah, I stopped working at Ulta, and then I ended up finding my homeschool teaching position that I'm doing right now. I have just a few months left of that, and then after that, I don't really know what I will be doing. The very last thing we need to do is apply some of the e.l.f. X Chipotle lip gloss, and this is the Make It Hot Lip Plumping Gloss. I know that if I still worked at Chipotle, I would be wearing this lip gloss to work every single day just for the spirit of it, just for the vibes. Because the lip gloss is the only lip product that I have and it's like a sheer red tint, I am adding just a little bit of lip liner, like a My Lips But Better kind of shade. This is Revlon Color Stay Long Wear Lip Liner in the shade Nude. Just adding a little bit of lip liner just to kind of perfect my lip line a little bit, and now I'm going to go in with the Chipotle gloss. I like this gloss a lot actually. I think the tint is cute. I love a good like tinted gloss, and it's plumping. So this is the final look using the e.l.f. X Chipotle collection. I love how this look came out. I love that it had me kind of coming out of my comfort zone a little bit, and I really think that all of the colors are super flattering on my eyelid. And honestly, I'm very impressed with how the eyeshadows performed. I like cannot believe I was able to build up the green matte shade the way that I did. And not only was I able to build it up, I was also able to like blend it out really nicely. I love how the guac shade looks on my eyelid. I was not expecting to use that, but it just looks so good next to fajitas. I just think it came out so good. I also think that the Make It Hot lip plumping gloss is super nice and very cute. I actually think I'm gonna put it in my bag. I really like it. The sponges performed, you know, awesome. I'll continue to use them. I actually really needed a sponge replacement, so that's great. And then lastly, the bag was just super cute, but obviously like it's a bag, you know. So yeah, that was it. It was super fun being able to talk about Chipotle, my very first job. I loved working there, so highly recommend if you are looking for a job or, you know, you're looking for your first job. I highly recommend checking out Chipotle. They were just an awesome company to work for. I felt super appreciated while I was working there. I really enjoyed it. I met some awesome people, and I just had a really great experience. But yeah, I had a great time talking about my work history and completing this look that I love so much. I think that this look turned out really great, and I can't wait to take some selfies. But yeah, that is going to be it from me today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you aren't already subscribed, definitely go ahead and do so, and hopefully I see you next time.